Thanks for accessing the Vaping and Young People video. This is a live session that's been delivered in our PDHPE statewide staff room, and we've converted this into learning on demand. I'm Renee West, I'm the PDHPE advisor 7 to 12, and I'm going to take you through this presentation. If you have any questions or concerns related to vaping or related to anything within the presentation, then feel free to contact Kate Rayner, the PDHPE Curriculum Support Advisor, or myself, so we can answer any of those questions. Before we begin, I would like to begin by acknowledging the custodians of the land on which we meet today. I'm presenting from Dharawal land down here south of Wollongong, and I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging on this beautiful land. I'd also like to extend my respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are watching this today. So the aim of this video is really to build understanding of vapes and vaping culture. It's to build a profile of the student characteristics and behaviours and how they influence learning needs in relation to vaping. It's to develop an understanding of how to address vaping through the curriculum with a focus on what to do and what not to do. It should allow you to recognise the importance of proposition and skill-based pedagogy in PDHPE, and it also aims to increase awareness of the Stage 4 learning sequence and the Do You Know What You're Vaping campaign materials released by New South Wales Health earlier in 2022. So let's start by focusing on some things to know about vapes. Vaping might seem popular, but we know that research shows 7 in 10 young people do not vape. Whilst many young people and members of the community might think that vaping is harmless, it isn't. And the serious consequences of vaping are really just starting to emerge. Any take-up of vaping by young people is worrying, and we know that spotting vapes can be difficult because they often resemble common school items like highlighter pens or markers or USB drives. Knowing the different shapes and types of vapes is the first step to help protect young people from the risks of vaping. So we've created a quiz, and I suggest that you press pause while you complete the quiz, and then we'll have a look at some of the answers. So let's have a look at the answers to the quiz questions. So the first question was, most e-cigarettes contain only water and flavouring. Now we know that's false. Users are not vaping water. When they inhale from a vape, they can be exposed to the same harmful chemicals found in cleaning products, nail polish remover, weed killer or bug spray. Vapes have also been found to contain toxins like formaldehyde and heavy metals, and these can be inhaled deep into the lungs. And the flavouring chemicals that are used have been already linked to serious lung disease. The second question was about nicotine in one vape contains as much nicotine as a whole packet of cigarettes. It's pretty concerning that that's true. They've found that one vape pod can equal up to 50 cigarettes. And we know that nicotine is the same highly addictive substance found in tobacco cigarettes. Question 3, young people who vape are more likely to start smoking. That's true. The use of e-cigarettes has been shown to increase the risk of young people indulging in other tobacco products like regular cigarettes, smokeless tobacco or cigars. They're actually up to 3 times more likely to smoke cigarettes if they've tried vaping. People who've vaped can also develop an inclination for marijuana and other substances that can be vaped. Now, question 4, young people are more vulnerable to nicotine addiction than adults are. This one's true. Nicotine's a drug, and it's often in vapes, and it's highly addictive for young brains. It can cause long-lasting negative effects on brain development because nicotine changes the way that brain synapses are formed in young people. This can harm someone's ability to pay attention, to learn. It could affect their mood, and it could affect memory. And the last question was, as long as a vape doesn't contain nicotine, it's safe for young people. And that's false. Vapes might expose users to chemicals at levels that have the potential to cause negative health effects. Vaping can impact a user's lungs and their fitness. It also leaves users at increased risk of depression and anxiety. Vaping's been linked to serious lung disease. More importantly, many of the long-term harms of vaping are still unknown. And even vapes that are promoted and sold as nicotine-free have been tested and found to contain high levels of nicotine. We also know that vapes have been known to explode, causing serious burns. So there's no such thing as safe when it comes to vaping. So here's some things to know about vaping. There's some key pieces of information which every teacher or educator should know when it comes to vaping. If there's anything surprising in these facts, we'd love to hear from you in our statewide staff room with a comment in any of our chats. Fact 1. Tobacco companies either fully own or have significant vested interest in 4 of the top 5 e-cigarette companies. And in 2018 alone, the top 25 e-cigarette manufacturers brought in more than $2.5 billion in sales. And according to Nielsen data, 96% of these sales were from brands owned in whole or part by tobacco companies. Fact 2. Both tobacco companies and young people consciously remove any association or relationship between tobacco cigarettes and e-cigarettes. The term vape was introduced by companies to create a disassociation between tobacco cigarettes and e-cigarettes due to the known health effects and dirty image of tobacco cigarettes. Drawing a clear relationship between tobacco and e-cigarettes is crucial to empower young people to take action to protect themselves and others from the harmful effects of vaping. Fact 3. E-cigarettes are frequently marketed as healthier, cheaper, more socially acceptable, and more amenable to use with indoor smoking restrictions in comparison to tobacco cigarettes. Since e-cigarettes were introduced around 2007, marketing efforts have increasingly shifted to young audiences. In the mid-1900s, tobacco cigarettes were marketed as being good for you, and most of the public accepted that to be true. And now, in 2022, e-cigarettes are being marketed as safe, and the majority of the public accept that to be true. We know that young people are exposed to tobacco and e-cigarette content through social media. Social media platforms remain unregulated, and the use of product placement and influencers to promote products plays on the young person's need to fit in and take up smoking or vaping. Fact 4. E-cigarette companies are using the lessons they learnt from tobacco sales and community response to their product to target young people to use e-cigarettes to make more money. Tobacco companies use a range of strategies to rebrand its public image and make profit. Specifically, tobacco companies are aggressively marketing to attract young people to their products. And fact 5, tobacco companies and e-cigarette companies are using deception and stealthing to create a normalized culture for vaping, drawing on young people's need to fit in and turning vaping into part of identity. It's the culture they're promoting, not just the product, to sell a lifestyle and an underground group or community to be a part of, away from and behind the backs of parents and teachers. They're marketing vaping as safe, and they're marketing vaping as cool. So what do we know about our current students? Our current upper primary school and our secondary students are part of Generation Alpha and Generation Z, respectively. The characteristics of these young people make them ideal targets for these products. It's this profile that we had in mind when we created our resources. Because they're the first consumers to have grown up wholly in the digital era, they're tech savvy and they're mobile first, and they have high standards for how they spend their time online. Media and social media heavily influence their perceptions of the world and trigger their high desire for reward and acceptance. It models behaviour, promotes trends, and exposes them to global views of the world. And with this comes a need for these young people to learn digital skills to be safe and well. They want to fit in. Brands are part of their identity. Marketing uses that to target them. They tap into, build, and promote youth cultures and make products desirable for young people to fit in, be part of, or promote their allegiance to. Like every young person before them, peer influence and acceptance is important, and it affects their attitudes and behaviours. These generations have brand influence and purchasing power beyond their years, engaging with brands and products that speak to the future needs of the generation. They've become a target demographic for companies and organisations, and their use of devices and social media, which are largely unregulated, means they have high exposure to advertising and marketing. And this advertising and marketing is global, which is very different to previous generations. These generations are being raised with shared customs, values and experiences. They're social justice focused, and they understand their rights as individuals and consumers. And we see this through the groundswell and activism on local, national and international levels, like climate change or consent education. As teachers, we need to capture this and use it as a strength. Remembering that 7 in 10 young people are not vaping. Why are they not vaping? And how can we access the strengths and skills of these young people to promote positive action and change for the health and well-being of our community? So how do we go about addressing vaping in the curriculum? Well, there's some things that we could do and there's some things we should avoid. So firstly, what to do? The facts and research are crucial to empower young people. We've developed curriculum resources using current state data and evidence-based approaches. We've consulted experts across New South Wales Health and the Cancer Council and investigated effective approaches internationally. There is much information about vaping, and much of this is deliberate tactics from tobacco companies to cause doubt and confusion amongst people. The facts debunk myths and promote awareness. Now, vaping might seem popular, but as I've said, research shows that 7 in 10 young people do not vape. Advertising and marketing aims to normalise vaping in the same way that tobacco smoking was normalised. Building vapes into youth culture by creating an underground culture backed by social media, which young people have grown up with, plays to young people's sense of identity and need to fit in. The denormalisation of smoking through increased public awareness and public policy is what impacted tobacco consumption. The same needs to occur for vaping or e-cigarettes. And I've talked already about the importance of making the link between tobacco cigarettes and e-cigarettes or vapes to reverse the deliberate separation that tobacco and e-cigarette companies have tried to do to make a new image of vapes to target young people as an audience of lifetime users. Now, what should we avoid doing? The glamorous images on social media of students vaping in schools or stealthing and being deceptive have led to many young people who would not ever try cigarettes to be curious about or want to try e-cigarettes. These young people are unaware of the risks involved. The glorification of vaping in society, especially on social media, is a problem. As teachers, we should not promote this, but rather empower our students to critique and challenge it. We need to avoid using images or videos which are not used in our resources or the New South Wales Health campaign, because used in the wrong way, these could glamorise vapes and promote their appeal to young people. Warnings, messages or fear-based tactics will not match young people's personal experiences or their perceptions, and it often results in them detaching or feeling like they're not part of an at-risk group. So avoid those tactics as well. To effectively address vaping in the curriculum, we need propositions-focused teaching. So let's look at each of the propositions. When it comes to educative purpose, we know that young people and some members of community might think vaping is harmless, but it isn't, and the serious consequences of vaping are just starting to emerge. The reasons for why the learning matters are very clear. When it comes to a strengths-based approach, we've already talked about how research shows that 7 in 10 young people do not vape. Through our learning experiences, we need to support students to identify, articulate, and apply their personal strengths and skills within and beyond the classroom in relation to vaping. We need to focus on students investigating the influences on drug use, specifically vaping, including marketing, deceptive tactics, the creation of mystery, and the underground nature of vaping. Students should explore how they can take action to enhance their own health and well-being, as well as be empowered to promote the positive impact to individuals and communities when people choose not to vape. Drawing a clear relationship between tobacco and e-cigarettes is crucial for this. We need to capture their awareness of rights as consumers and use of technology and social media and empower them to advocate and want to create positive change for the health of all young people. So, using a critical inquiry approach through curriculum resources to address vaping should provide opportunities for students to use critical thinking skills, to analyse data and collect evidence to challenge information presented to them about vaping within the community. Students should be empowered and supported to challenge, question and interrogate all knowledge, information or health-related content presented to them through media, social media or other sources. Students should challenge their assumptions about vaping for young people. Applying a critical inquiry approach will support students to develop their health literacy. Young people are exposed to tobacco and e-cigarette content through social media. Social media platforms remain unregulated, and the use of product placement and influencers to promote products plays on the young person's need to fit in and take up smoking or vaping. Students should focus on learning how to determine the credibility of social media messages they are exposed to. They should be provided opportunities to critique marketing strategies aimed at influencing young people's attitudes, behaviour and perceptions of e-cigarettes, and propose strategies to debunk media messages and empower young people to make informed decisions about e-cigarettes. Effectively addressing vaping in the curriculum also requires a skills-focused learning approach. For students to have the confidence and competence to apply skills, we first must take the time to teach them about the skill, demonstrate how the skill looks in action, and provide opportunities for practice, evaluation, and feedback. This is a research-based skill development model. A range of skills are important when it comes to vaping. These include what is on screen. And you can see the evidence of learning or the learning expectations in the right-hand column. Based on the information we've presented to you so far in this video, you should be able to see the importance of these skills and their application in a vaping situation. These are not the only skills, but these are examples of skills that we have incorporated into our learning sequence. On screen, you can see some key messages and pillars of messaging related to addressing vaping with young people. These were developed through research with young people by New South Wales Health and Cancer Council New South Wales. The complex nature of vaping means we need to target young people in a purposeful way. The messaging in the darker blue formed part of the focus of the New South Wales Health Do You Know What You're Vaping campaign. The creation of the Stage 4 vaping resources also took a targeted approach designed to focus on the messaging of denormalising vaping and increasing the level of doubt, highlighting that disposable vapes contain nicotine and debunking the myth that vaping is safer than smoking. This promoted critical inquiry and used the syllabus content in ways reflective of skill development and knowledge and skill application. So let's unpack our new resources to see how we've hit these messages and addressed vaping through PDHPE using the research-based profile of young people in our design. We have created a comprehensive sequence of learning to address the key messages of vaping through the PDHPE K-10 syllabus content and outcomes. The sequence embeds teacher notes, all learning intentions and evidence of learning, points of reference for research and resources, questioning with answers and guidance, teaching strategies, and recommended formative assessment. The sequence is designed around the characteristics of Generation Z and Generation Alpha students that were shared earlier in this presentation. It's reflective of the syllabus propositions and it embeds a research-based skill development model to empower students to challenge and understand the facts about vaping and to have the skills to decipher media and social media marketing as well as refuse vaping and advocate for safe decisions, behaviours and environments. Throughout the learning sequence, you'll find the support you need. Resources are clearly listed at the front and throughout the sequence. These have been researched and used in meaningful ways to promote literacy, numeracy, critical thinking, media and social media literacy, and knowledge application. You can see that teaching notes are embedded throughout as blue boxes. Many of these teaching notes provide background information and research to support student learning. Teachers should use their judgment to determine the suitability of sharing information from these teaching notes with students to add value to the learning or to guide discussion. These decisions should be made by teachers based on student need and levels of maturity. Formative assessment is embedded at multiple stages in the sequence and is focused on application of knowledge. Some of the formative assessment builds on each other, with tasks at the front of the sequence being revisited later in the sequence to show further growth. Quick strategies like quick writes and KWHLs are used after each activity focus to allow for reflection and check-ins for students and teachers. We've also created an additional video which unpacks each aspect of the sequence. It offers you the why or the purpose of the learning for each section and explains where to focus energy or make changes to activities to meet student needs. You can access this anytime, as well as our annotated version of the sequence to guide you on the importance of messaging in each activity focus. This learning sequence builds pebbles of learning as students move through each activity focus. Students pick up the pebbles of learning and apply them throughout the sequence. It's designed to build student curiosity and apply critical thinking through inquiry to challenge information and put the pieces of the puzzle together to come to an ultimate conclusion. The timing and the flow or sequence is crucial. Sharing information too early will affect the outcome of the learning. We want students to be empowered. We want them to find the answers with guidance, rather than us as experts telling them that what they think they know about vaping is wrong. The learning is built around some clear pieces of evidence. Let's take a look at the evidence base for each activity focus. Firstly, activity focus 1. We know that young people weigh risk and reward differently to other age groups, particularly adults. Young people engage in more risky behaviours because their brains are still maturing and they're highly sensitive to being accepted by their peers. Acceptance by peers, whether it be face-to-face, through observation and applause, or through social media recognition such as likes, comments, shares, snap streaks, Snapchat scores, all of those result in a feeling of reward or pleasure. The pleasure is linked to the release of the hormone dopamine from the brain, and the greater the perceived reward, the greater the release of dopamine, resulting in a desire to repeat the behaviour or seek recognition or acceptance in another way. Young people respond to large rewards more than small rewards, therefore they're more likely to take big risks for big rewards, even when they're aware of negative outcomes or dangers. So the payoff has greater value for young people, therefore the risk is downplayed. We also know that the internet and social media are integral parts of the digital lives of Australian young people. With the rapid rise in young people accessing social media platforms such as TikTok, there's been a rise in individuals and organisations using social media platforms to share health information. Now, some of this is reliable, credible and valid, and much of it is not. But we know that young people need the skills to decipher. Activity Focus 2 is about fact-checking. We know that influencers are employed by e-cigarette companies and other companies to build their brand and sell their product to young people. And we know that young people follow influencers and are led by their need to fit in and follow trends. Activity Focus 3 is learning from history. There's a clear relationship between tobacco cigarettes and the actions of tobacco companies and what is happening now with e-cigarettes. And we need young people to recognise that they are the target to be lifetime users of these products to the detriment of their health. Activity Focus 4 is the power of brands. We know tobacco as a brand was impacted when the world increased their awareness of the health effects of cigarettes. Global public health campaigns and increased consumer awareness had a huge impact on tobacco consumption. Activity Focus 5 is the power of marketing. We know that deception and mystery are being used to build the culture and draw young people in. But 7 in 10 young people don't vape for good reason. and we need these young people to build their skills to take action and advocate. And Activity Focus 6 is on developing and applying the skills. A range of skills are important for students to gather information, analyse information, and make judgments about reliability and credibility. Once these skills are developed and applied, students can then make informed decisions and use their assertiveness and refusal skills to reject vaping. So outside of curriculum, what can schools do to address vaping? It'll take a community to eradicate student vaping in schools, and although much of the burden lies on the shoulders of educators, all stakeholders must come together to play their part if this fight is to be won. Based on the sequence that's been shared with you in this video, other KLAs and subjects could assist with facilitation of these lessons and messages, such as English or HSIE, with links to media literacy, history, and commerce. The Stage 5 sequence we'll release in Term 3 will make those links explicit. New South Wales Health launched the Do You Know What You're Vaping campaign in May 2022, and the department worked with New South Wales Health on these materials. The Vaping Toolkit is available on the public campaign website. And the toolkit really aims to increase awareness around vapes and the health risks of vaping. It also aims to address the myths and misperceptions about vaping. Through the campaign website, a range of fact sheets are available for download and distribution across the school community. Purple resources are for teachers, orange resources are for parents, and pink resources are for young people. Messages on fact sheets are specific to the audience, and they've been reviewed and received feedback before publishing from all three audiences. As part of the government campaign, all schools should have received posters for display in their student spaces and faculty-only spaces. These can also be downloaded for printing. Also available on the website is newsletter content. Many schools have added the campaign website and information through the school website service to communicate with their school community. For schools using newsletters, you could pick up the newsletter content and insert it into any communication you're having with your school community. So where to next to access additional support? Well, the Stage 5 learning sequence will be released in Term 3. You could access the sequence for Stage 4 and also access the annotated Stage 4 learning sequence. There's an accompanying video to unpack the what, the why, and the how behind each section of the sequence, designed to upskill teachers and also give you guidance with implementation. You could also access the Four Corners Vape Haze, which was aired on the 27th of June, available on ABC iView, or watch Vaping, What Parents and Teachers Need to Know by Professor Renee Batoon. If you have any questions specific to the vaping resources, then feel free to reach out and contact us. You can contact myself as the PDHPE Advisor or Kate Rayner as the PDHPE Curriculum Support Advisor. For any support that you need relating to PDHPE, contact any member of our team. You can see their details on screen, tag us in a Teams chat or in the statewide staff room, or email us directly for any type of support.